Hello and welcome to the One Life Church devotional series where we cover the entire Bible in 20 months. Well, today's chapters are Psalm 30 and that famous wedding chapter, Ephesians chapter 5. Now, in Psalm 30, this is a praise psalm. Remember, there are lament psalms, there are thanksgiving psalms, it's a praise psalm. And the subscript says it's the opening of David's house. Now, there's some debate as to what house that is. It could be his palace. It could be him prophesying in advance, anticipating Solomon building the temple, or more likely it is the moving of the tabernacle to Jerusalem. Remember, it spent a little bit of time there. Now, let me go to verse 5. It says this: for his anger lasts only a moment, but his favor lasts a lifetime. What a beautiful phrase. What he goes through in this psalm is that he was in trouble, he's calling out for help, and then God rescues him. That's the sort of passage, the narrative that we follow. He says God's anger, his judgment, the crisis that he was, only a moment in comparison to his favor. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. Great chapter to pray through if you're going through a tough time. Now, let's go straight to Ephesians chapter 5. And Ephesians 5 has basically got three components to it. One, they're dealing with secret sin. Two, worship in the Holy Spirit. And three, marriage. Remember, this is the practical application of the gospel. The first 4 chapters are looking at the gospel, what it is. Now we're looking at this practical application. Now, I'm sitting here in Greenpoint Park. This is a famous wedding spot in Cape Town. People do their anniversaries here. They have wedding ceremonies here. Their kitchen teas here. Romantic spot. Perfect setting to talk about marriage. So Paul starts off this chapter by saying that we need to live as children of light, and that when there's secret sin in our lives, allow the light of Jesus to shine into that and to expose it, and have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. A pastor got hold of me yesterday, distressed because he had seen some sin in somebody's life that was directly impacting him, and he was conflicted between just letting love cover over multitudes of sin or actually exposing it, and which is the action that he eventually took. So that's the encouragement of Paul. If we live these double lives, it doesn't end well. No, not for us or the people around us. And then he says in verse 18, do not get drunk on wine, which leads to debauchery. Instead, be filled with the Spirit. And then a outworking of being filled with the Spirit is 2 types of singing. He says, sing to the Lord with all your heart, and then also sing over each other. Now, I'm sure that doesn't mean serenade each other. He's talking about singing, declaring the gospel, declaring the word. And so people who are filled with the Spirit come together, and when they sing, they proclaim the goodness of God and they sing to God himself. But let's now go to the essence of this chapter. And our friend Luke, he was obviously reading through this, which many of you would have heard. Almost every single wedding goes through this. For this reason, a man will leave his mother and father, be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. And this is a great mystery. You've all heard this, haven't you? So Luke asked me the question, exactly on the submission issue, exactly how much must a wife submit to her husband? He would go there, wouldn't he? Well, to Luke and my friends, verse 21 says this: submit to one another. Now, husbands don't often like that, do they? Submit to one another out of reverence to Christ. Now, so actually a marriage is a mutual submitting to each other, a mutual laying one's life down for each other. I think the reason that this is such a contentious chapter in the world today is that there is a fallen view of what leadership means, of what headship means. When sin entered the world, it corrupted the marriage environment, didn't it? You can read about that in Genesis chapter 3. He begins to dominate, and she begins to manipulate, and that's what marriages have been like for thousands of years. Our default sinful setting as men is to control and to dominate, and hers is to manipulate. And you might say, well, I don't like those archetypes. That's the sinful nature. So God says this is how this mystery is outworked, is that when a man understands that his leadership, his headship of a home is about servanthood. It says here, husbands, love your wives as Christ did the church, laying his life down for her. Husbands, this is what it means to lead your wives. You serve her, you lay your life down for her. Now, the way Jesus did that is she, his bride, killed him, plucked out his beard, opened his back. That's leadership. And when we understand that as leadership, you remove the fight away. And then the very last verse here says, however, each of you must love his wife as he loves himself. Husbands, you love her. You lay your life down this way. And the wife must respect him. In other words, allow him to lead that way. When we live our lives in this fashion, the mystery of marriage is worked out. God bless you. Have a great day.